Monday, 8 games. Al Horford, he's old, but he's also good. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and my performance-enhancing drug is sunshine. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also check out lockedondaily.com. That is newsletters. It's for your favorite team. It's there. It's free. Sign it up. Double bang over here and hit the old subscribe button on the audio and the YouTube and the comments and all of that stuff. All of you everyday legends are here, and you're getting it, your team every day. You're getting it free. You're getting it first listen. It's all here. All the things. You know how it all works. We're cracking in and we're rolling on and we are talking. And I want you to get, I don't know if you've got a cake handy. I don't know if you've got any candles handy, but it is Cognac's birthday today. And it's not the day that cognac was invented, but like horses, cognac has a day, April the 1st, where every barrel is aged up. In 3 years, up to 4 years. Only on one day, so you don't have to keep track of it. It's just a horse's birthday, cognac's birthday. So shout out to cognac, I guess, and its arbitrary birthday of April the 1st. What can we talk about here? We probably should just cover off a little bit of news across the NBA. Two major injury things that we do need to be aware of, and two things that we sort of expected. Kevin Durant is out for at least a week with that ankle sprain. At least a week, so that's half of the remaining games in the regular season. I would be pretty surprised if he comes back immediately for Monday next week. I think you're okay to drop Kevin Durant. In terms of who do you add? I don't know. And I say that because I don't know. And I say that because the options that you have will be maybe if Bradley Beal returns. It might be Tyus Jones. It might be Grayson Allen. It might be Bol. It might be Royce O'Neal. It might be Ryan Dunn. And therefore you ignore it. You can stream them in when the schedule makes sense, or you've got an individual situation where you want to attack somebody if we see a clear pattern from Mike Budenholzer. But it's not like this is the first time Durant's been out all season. And the guys that replaced him, we didn't love it. There were situations where Bol had some moments, of course, but look what we're doing now. And O'Neal can do something, and Allen could do something. So overall, I don't think we bother. In New Orleans, we got the confirmation of something that I did say I was very certain was going to happen. Zion Williamson is done for the year. CJ McCollum is done for the year. We know that they actually could play, but they do have some small injuries, and of course, it's tanking. And this is what happens in the final 2 weeks of the season. This goes on. Who do you add? Like we like to always say on the show, we've seen it. We've got the information. We saw what happened the last 3 to 4 games with these guys out. Bruce Brown has been pretty good. He's worth looking at. Jordan Hawkins, not so much. Jose Alvarado, borderline. Kelly Olynyk, pretty good. The problem is that, and now we've missed one of these days, but they didn't play until Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday were no good. If you add a Bruce Brown or Kelly Olynyk right now, or deeper leagues, Antonio Reeves and Keon Brooks or Carlo Makovic, you still get a 0 on Tuesday. And the only guy I look at there as being probably worth holding for a 0 is Kelly Olynyk in head-to-head leagues. In Roto, Brown, Makovic, and Olynyk would be guys that I would grab. But in head-to-head, the only guy I'd consider getting that 0 for on Tuesday is Olynyk. But even then, you can probably still do better because there's going to be random blokes that pop off at any point. Just getting somebody else in on the Tuesday and working the schedule that way. But we've seen it. This is not out of the blue. We've seen these guys out the last 3 games or so, and we've got an idea of sort of the rotations that the big fellas in New Orleans are running. Let's take a look at some waiver wire trends, who has been added and who has been dropped. We'll start, of course, with the most added players, and the number one most added player is Matas Buzelis for 2 reasons: the back-to-back here, and also the fact that the last time that we saw him play, he played 37 minutes and looked great. We'll talk about that game later. Adem Bona, 8 blocks or something over the weekend. No real expectation the Sixers are bringing anybody back in. He's a clear add. Ryan Rollins, okay, I get it. The schedule is okay for the Bucks. Rollins is starting most games and being sort of okay. He wouldn't say he's the highest priority, but he's okay to use. Jared Butler, I also think is worth looking at. Now, it is worth noting that the Sixers decided to label Kyle Lowry as questionable, so that means anything, I don't know, but I think Butler's fine. Lou Dort is a stream guy, we know this, and Bruce Brown, like we just talked about, Brucey, and we know why we're adding him. The most dropped player, Kevin Huerter, is out today. I am certain he'll be back tomorrow, so you want to go and add him, go and do it. Jackson Hayes is a stream guy when Rui Hachimura sits. Keon Ellis was dropped, and given the performance that he had today despite starting, I understand that. He is a fringe player who can have good games, but is he a must? No. CJ McCollum, easy drop. Keon Johnson, they've got a terrible schedule, easy drop. LaMelo Ball, easy drop. Zion Williamson will be one of those ones that also turns into an easy drop as we move forward. Shall we talk about the first game of the day? We should. It is the Sacramento Kings and the Indiana Pacers. The Kings lose again 109 to 111 as the Pacers get it done without a couple of key players. We'll start on the Kings side of things. They continued with that starting lineup of old mate Keon Ellis starting over Malik Monk. We'll talk about Monk. Now, Monk had been a real revelation middle of the season. They elevated him to starting. He was playing 36 to 37 minutes a night and cooking. And overall, like you look at this and go, 29 minutes is not ideal. 29 usage, pretty good still. 7 assists, I love that. But you're lopping 6-7 minutes off his total, 8 minutes off his total. And when you have a night where you shoot 14%, which is what Monk did, it really hurts. He had 5, 7, and 7. If he was playing 33 minutes and got this sort of a game, I'd be like, oh, maybe we hold that because he's not going to shoot 14%. But losing 7, 9, 10 minutes off his playing time and shooting poorly, and obviously like there is a human and a mental component to this. Do you think that like as much as Malik Monk sacrificed money to stay with his team in the offseason and now is sacrificing minutes and touches for this team, and yeah, he's got to be like, bro, what more did you want me to do? Like I thought he outplayed DeMar DeRozan for over half of the games they started together, yet it's he that moves to the bench. Not DeRozan, it's him. Speaking of DeRozan, 42 minutes, that's a lot. 31, 3 and 8, a steal and a block. Now, this is not a bad game from DeRozan. It's pretty good, in fact. He even hit 2 threes. Unfortunately, he was weirdly bad from the line, 71%, but overall, it's a good game from him. And it was also a good game from Zach LaVine. 20 and 5 with 4 threes, but overall, this team is just in a rough spot. At the start of the season, I was a little bit worried about where Domantas Sabonis would sit. Because I was like, ooh, adding DeRozan in, who does Sabonis lose some of those assists, which bring him so much value? Yet 0. Now, that's not every game, obviously, but it hasn't been as smooth sailing for Domantas Sabonis this season. 25 and 16 here is not a great game. Keegan Murray was fine. He feels like he can't push past fine with the way this roster is constructed. He had 12 and 7 with 2 threes, and then Keon Ellis had 9, 3 and 4 with 2 steals. No, 1 steal and 2 threes, which again is whatever. It's fine-ish, but starting and playing 27 minutes is not really good enough. It's not enough to suggest that he is a must-roster player. So people are still holding Valanciunas, and I'm just going to go ahead and hope that those are people who have lost their phones or something. They can't be serious, no chance. For the Pacers, there was no Ben Mathurin, but there was also no Miles Turner in this game. That meant that we got the tank, Tom Bryant, starting. And was he good? No, because he's Thomas Bryant. He had 7 points in 22 minutes. Now, if he does continue to start, there will be opportunities where he has a big game because he does that. But overall, he remains a not very good player, and there are going to be times where Richard Carlisle says, yeah, maybe we'll do something different. We'll go to Tony Bradley. Or in this one, we went to a mixture of Jarris Walker, hello, and Obi Toppin. Toppin had 19 and 7 with 5 threes, and in true Obi Toppin style, absolutely nothing else. I wouldn't feel good about using him. And the other thing that happened, there was no Mathurin, so of course we know what happens. That's going to bump up the other guys, and Aaron Nesmith took advantage. 35 minutes, 24 and 6, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and while somebody is out, Nesmith has value, especially when the schedule makes sense for the Pacers too. Nembhard couldn't really get it going though, 5 and 7 with a steal and a block. He is very, very hard to consider a must, but while Mathurin is out, I'd try to persist. Siakam had another one of these like patented duds. He's had a very weird season. Some unbelievable hot streaks, and then what is this? 11, 3 and 6. Come on, man. Halliburton got back to the double-doubles, 18, 2 and 11. All right, we'll come back. We've got 7 more games up to talk about, including the next one, which is a blowout from the Heat over the Washington Wizards. But today's episode, it is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever go in and check your bank account and just go, geez, I'm pretty sure I had more money than that. It's all gone. Where is it? Where you're eating out, you're online shopping, you're dealing with entertainment and subscriptions. It's easy to lose track of where your money goes. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's a financial command center. It's not just for managing your money and checking things. It's for planning as well. Long-term goals to help build your wealth. Keep all of your multiple banking and financial apps in the one place. You don't have to open all those individual things. You can easily track your finances and spending and plan those long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off in your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season has started off. The NBA is rolling into the playoffs, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. 3-pointers, rebounds, assists, RBIs, home runs, first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. Build your lineup, easy to do it. Get Shohei in there for some hits. Get Aaron Judge in there for some home runs. Maybe you want to chuck a sneaky Tyler Soderstrom in there, who's off to a rollicking start. And you want to look at maybe Luka Doncic and his assist. Put it all together. Easy to do. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's go to the second game of the day. The Miami Heat over the Washington Wizards easily, 120-94. For Miami, there was still no Andy Wiggins, and Wiggins is dealing with a hamstring injury, so I'd expect him to miss a few more games here. But then we also got no Duncan Robinson and no Davion Mitchell. So understand those 3 guys were out, rotation players, 2 starters, and that impacts a lot of the stuff because we actually saw the dusting off of Terry Rozier. 33 minutes for Terry Rozier. He had 15, 5, and 6, which is a really good game. And we know that Eric Spoelstra loves a recency bias. He loves to see what happened in the last game and then move with that. But again, those guys were out. So if Robinson and Robinson and Mitchell in particular come back in the next game, where does Rozier fit? He'll probably get some minutes, but he won't be doing anything like this, I wouldn't think. So I wouldn't chase that. Neither would I do it with Jaime Jaquez. Triple H had 14 and 7 with 3 steals in 24 minutes. A really good game. But of course, those guys are out, and the same goes with Palla Larson, who played 30 minutes. He had 15, 7, and 5 with a steal. He shot the ball well, off from the free throw line. That's a couple of good games in a row from Larson, but again, if those players play and then Wiggins comes back, he's just not going to be reliable enough. Speaking of not reliable, Haywood Highsmith played 21 minutes. He had 2 points. We're on the downslope for the 17th time this season of Highsmith's minutes. Are we going to get zeros next? At least in 2 games' time, maybe. And we lost faith in Khalil Ware. Superman had 6 points in 22 minutes with 11 rebounds. I would hold him for now while Wiggins is out, but I think we're going to get a lot of frustrations going on, as we have all season, with the way that Spoelstra jerks these guys back and forward. Bam was red hot, especially early. He ended up with 28 and 12, and Hero had 27, 5, and 5 with 3 steals. And Alec Burks started and had a triple one with 3 points, which is, again, just useless. And he could lose his minutes immediately as well. And then maybe Rozier sticks, and maybe Jaquez plays, and Mitchell returns, and Little Chungus Nikola-Jovic is going to come back soon as well. So all of these fringe guys, it's almost impossible to have any reliance on them, given the way that Spoelstra moves guys back and forward, and we just don't know who's going to be available on any given night. We can now go and look at the other side of this, though, and that's the Washington Wizards, a team which, of course, got cooked in this game, as is pretty common for them. Let's start with Alex Sarr, who's been on a really red-hot roll. So, of course, continued on to the tune of 8 points on 18% shooting as a center. He had only 3 rebounds as well. But he did play 31 minutes, and he had 2 blocks. So some of the numbers were fine. Now, I think what's interesting in this game is the Heat got out to a really, really red-hot start, which meant a lot of their guys could play good minutes. And we saw that because Jordan Poole played 29 minutes. He had 35 with 7 threes, 4 assists, and 2 steals, which is obviously great. The problem is if the game stays sort of close early on, then Poole's not going to get opportunities to play that many minutes. I guess what you're rooting for is the Wizards. The Wizards want to lose. But what we're rooting for is the Wizards to get cooked in the first quarter and then let some of these players play. But we just don't know if that's going to happen. Bob Carrington got his minutes. In fact, he got a lot more than his usual minutes, 38 minutes for 8 points. He did have 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and 3 steals, and that's useful, but the usage remains low, the efficiency remains frustrating, and he's just hard to consider as an absolute must. 14 teams? Sure. What we got in this one was a re-emergence of Richaun Holmes, and that just throws the cat amongst the pigeons. Or was it that they were doing that because the team they were playing against was a solid team and they thought they could just throw the veteran a bone style? We got 15 minutes for Holmesy, 8 and 8, but Vukcevic still played a little bit. 22 minutes for him, played alongside Holmes, which is basically his normal run. 14 and 4 with 2 threes. But what it should do is it should make you, or should give you a level of pause and go, ooh, are we just going to get more of these random Holmes appearances? A guy that I talked about on the Waiver Wire show who was playing a lot of minutes and then just randomly got sent to the G League is Colby Jones. Okay, I don't know why that happened. He was playing well, but they did that. So obviously you can't rely upon Colby Jones. We also got a lot of minutes from AJ Johnson. And the good thing is he played a lot of minutes. 37 minutes. That's really reliable. Well done. He had 8 points on 9 shots with 1 assist and 1 steal. So the minutes don't always translate into numbers, but if you're going to go with a default, like chasing minutes is a good way to go about it. The problem, again, is that he's bad, so there's going to be bad shooting nights and weird usage things, and this is the problem with a team like this, is that you're going to get randomness. We had 29 Justin Champagny minutes, and he was bad in those minutes, 5 and 5, with 3 steals and a block, which we do like. But it's impossible to rely upon any of this. So at the moment, I'm probably still holding Jordan Poole, barely. Sarr, yeah. But then, Vukcevic is a fringy guy, and Johnson's a fringy guy. And we had 20 random minutes for Marcus Smart for some reason. There's still no Keyshawn George available here. It's just a lot of nothingness on this team, which you would hope to get a little bit of consistency, but alas, we're not. We should go on to the next game now. The third game of the day, we're talking about the LA Clippers and your Orlando Sad Noise Magic. The Clippers win at 96-87. Kawhi returned. That meant that Derek Jones moved to the bench, and we were going to get another opportunity to see what Bogdan Bogdanovic would do with Kawhi back. And he had 5 points in 20 minutes, giving us a pretty clear indication that if Kawhi is in, we can just forget about Bogdanovic, and if Kawhi is out, we can stream him in.
Get that garbage out of here.
Derek Jones went to the bench. He had 5 points in 19 minutes. Clearly not useful. Chris Dunn had 6 points with 2 threes and 2 steals, which is fine enough, but we're not all that interested there. It was just the big guys. Jimmy Harden, 20 and 4 with 6 steals and 2 blocks. Wow, that's vintage Jim. Zubats, 18 and 20 with 5 assists. Norman Powell, 34 minutes on a back-to-back, 21 points. Now, of course, the rest of his line is empty, but that's what he is. And we love that we got that volume and the efficiency back while it was an uncharacteristically bad shooting night from Leonard. He had 21 points, but importantly, he played 39 minutes. They are playing him a million minutes at the moment. I hope it doesn't implode. I hope the fact that he missed the first 3.5 months of the season means that he will just be able to roll all the way through the playoffs, and maybe that's the blueprint for them. They just go completely easy on him until January, and then he comes out and rolls through the playoffs because they look bloody good. Of course, they're the Clippers, so something bad will happen, but they do look good. At the moment, we should talk about the Orlando side of this game because there was a chance that we were going to get Cole Anthony back, but that didn't happen. So they rolled out the same starting group, and that meant that we get another Corey Joseph start. Now, I know you're all dying to hear about Corey Joseph, who played 29 minutes and had 10 points with 2 threes and 2 steals. That's great. But Anthony might be back tomorrow, and Joseph's bad, so we don't worry about it too much. And I thought maybe we were getting a little bit more consistency out of Mr. Black. Well, no. He had 8 points in 19 minutes. He shot 30%. He had 2 steals, but he had 1 rebound and 2 assists. And this has been the problem with him all the way through. It's tightened up a little bit, but you get these inexplicable, what is this game? Honestly, as the number 6 pick in the draft, as a second-year player, he should have just taken over this starting job with Anthony out, or even with Anthony there, when Suggs was out and played 30 minutes a night. But he doesn't. And we're always left with these, 26, 20. That's a bad night. It's too much up and down. He was looking to be a must-roster guy, which it's hard to say that with him. And you can't say it. You hold for that. There's no point dropping in the middle of a back-to-back, but you hold. But if Cole Anthony plays on Tuesday, what the hell is going to happen here? I don't think it looks good. But I would hold for Tuesday. It gives us a free hit at an extra game that we don't waste an add-on, and we see where it goes from there. Carter had 4 steals and 2 blocks. Wendell, cool. Don't care. Streamer only. And KCP had 11 points. Wagner was pretty good. 21, 5, and 6. Banchero, 26, 6, and 4 with horrific field goals. But what I do like about Paolo is he hit his free throws. All 9 of them went in, which, when you're talking about Paolo Banchero, getting 9 of 9 from the line is a little bit of a W. Well, it's not a little bit of a W. It's actually a huge W because obviously that doesn't happen all that often. Should we move on to the next game? We probably should because this is it was shaping up to be an epic, and we got an interesting game. It was the Utah Jazz and the Charlotte Hornets. These two teams both needing to lose, and the Jazz did it. They knocked them off. They got the loss, 106 Utah, 110 Charlotte. So they were able to, you'll be shocked to know that Larry Markkinen wasn't available, Walker Kessler was sick, and Colin Sexton's, whatever invented injury they gave him, what is it called? A right ischial tuberosity bone bruise. He was out due to that. So that's a shock. And this is what actually, you know what? Maybe I'll give the Jazz credit because they had an opportunity to play the worst player in the NBA 35 minutes, but Cody Williams was ruled out. So maybe they were committed to winning this game. But with all of those guys out, we got the usual cast of characters doing more. Bryce Sensabaugh, 26 minutes, 19 points, 5 threes, 5 assists, 3 steals. There's so much hand-wringing and hand-waving about tanking and all this stuff. I get that, and it can be frustrating for us. But if we knew, right? If we knew that these guys just weren't going to play and they said, yeah, look, then they're done, like the Pelicans did today, then I'd be all right just grabbing Sensabaugh and seeing what happens. But we don't know. So he can play 28 and then they roll him back out there for a game. And then it's just, I think the ups and downs and the uncertainty of it is almost maybe you disagree. It's almost more frustrating and more annoying than just saying, yeah, like he's done. He's having a surgery, whatever is happening, like he's out. Versus like, oh, here's 20 minutes and then out 2 games and it's 25 minutes and now he's injured, now he's reconditioning and now he's sick and now it's a personal issue and now it's a bone tuberosity issue. I just say they're out. Versus random cameos like, hey, I'm Larry Markkinen. Remember me? Done. Right? It's frustrating. Keontae George had 20 points. He shot poorly. That is the way it goes. And we got another 33 minutes out of Kyle Filipowski. I'm not going to tell you it was a great Filipowski game, but 14 and 13 with 2 threes. You take that and you hold him. You are going to get killed in one of these games where he plays 18 minutes out of nowhere because Lowry comes back for a sayonara game. But whatever. Juzang did nothing. KJ Martin randomly started. He had 5 points with 2 assists. And we had 27 Jaden Springer minutes. The package had 11 and 4 with 2 steals and a block, and that is what he does. He gets steals, he'll block some shots. So if he is playing, but of course we don't know this, you'd stream him. And the rebounding legend himself, Oscar Tshiebwe. When you were in a situation where Tshiebwe is going to play, he will get rebounds and he will be useful there. The Hornets, though, I guess you could say kudos to them because I know people love the individual wins. They want to get that win. It's important to get a win. But they dick themselves. And this is what's really frustrating about the whole incentive structure of the lottery, is that they could have, and they should have, not could have, that's incorrect phrasing, could have and should have not played Miles Bridges and Mark Williams. Absolutely zero reason to play these guys on a back-to-back. And they win the game, effectively eliminating themselves of having a shot at that top 2 spot. They are now 3 games out of that area and sort of locked into number 3. They're 2 games ahead of the Pelicans. But they had a chance to lose to Utah and get themselves in the mix for a better draft pick. Williams, I was wrong. I thought he would sit. They'd sat him already on back-to-back games. But they didn't here for some reason. 18 and 13. Miles Bridges had a random rest day in the middle of the week, but not on the back-to-back against the one they absolutely needed to lose. Again, what are you talking about? Charlotte, if you're going to do this, and don't tell me that you're not doing it because you have, why would you not sit them in the game that is the most important to lose in these last 2 weeks? This one. Absolute stupidity. And I am a competitive person. I want to win, but you are idiots for deciding to play these guys on this day. Bridges had 26 and 10 with 8 assists and a steal and a block. He was great. But what the hell? What are we doing? KJ Simpson, I think, has got a shot to just start rest of season. 10, 8, 6, 2 steals, a block, and 2 threes. Actually, that's at least a 14-team ad. Tishan Salan got red hot early. He's actually shooting a lot better of late. He had 10 points. He had 2 threes. 12 points with 3 threes and 2 blocks. And we're moving into the, hey, if I'm in a 16-team, I'm looking at Salan a little bit. They also benched Daquan Jeffries to start Seth Curry, who had 2 points. And Josh Green returned for 14. And Nick Smith was brutal, 3 points in 17%. If you want to lose, play that man 30 minutes. Nurkic only the 11 minutes. Diabate only 9. If Williams is out, you stream in Nurkic, and that's it. But yeah, I didn't like what they did. I thought they went against their own best interest in this game. But it is what it is, as some would say. Today's episode, it is brought to you also by the Game Time app. There is nothing like getting to watch sports live. You know the atmosphere. It's all great. We watch it on TV all the time, but getting to the arena, getting to the ballpark, to watch, to hear, to listen, to smell, to eat, to socialize, all that stuff is great. And getting tickets to the events could be a real pain. That's where Game Time Picks comes in. Game Time Picks makes it easier to get those tickets, filtering out the fluff and showing you only the best deals on the great seats. So you don't have to waste your time scrolling through thousands of different tickets. Plus, they've got the super deals highlighting through on Game Time Picks to give you the best bang for your buck. You've got the seat view, so you've got peace of mind of what you're going to see when you get there. You've got the lowest price guarantee, another peace of mind. In fact, you might actually be able to piece your mind back together by looking at the fact they've got the no surprise fees as well and the lowest price guarantee, which I already just said. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDON. NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Let's go to the next game. It's the Boston Celtics and the Memphis Grizzlies. And sneaky Joe Mazzulla, he decided that with Jaylen Brown out, and I would expect every game from here on out, the Celtics rest one of their key players. He didn't go with Al Horford starting. He didn't go to Sam Hauser starting. He went revenge game. He started the cashier, Xavier T. Illman. He started after having not played for about a month, out of nowhere. Now, was Tillman good? No, he had 2 points in 8 minutes, but he did start. The guy that was good, and for some reason, this is what happened. So they said, let's give Xavier a go, man, against his old team. Let's try it. Memphis came out and cooked him early, and Joe Mazzulla went full psycho mode. Now, I know you'll think that is probably his default setting, and you're right, but he actually locked in and went, nah, we're winning. I don't know really why, but he did. We got 37 minutes of Al Horford off the bench. He had 26 and 9 with 6 threes and 2 steals, and this second half run from Horford has been actually amazing. I don't know why it's happening. I don't know how he's doing this. I don't know why they're even persisting with playing him 32 minutes a night when he could be doing this in playoffs. But it's happening. I don't feel good about rostering him, but man, what a run of games he's having. Drew Holiday was also pretty good here, 18, 6, and 7, while Tatum had 25, 14. And Maximum Derek had 14, 8, and 10. Honestly, not a lot to talk about on this team. We got a dud from Pritchard, 5 points. We got a dud from Hauser, 8 points and 2 threes. I think both of those guys, especially Pritchard, well, not especially, Hauser's nowhere near a 12-team guy. And I don't think Pritchard is either. But I've said that all along. Not all along, for a long period of time. That he had a really red-hot start. He has a couple of good moments. But overall, is holding him on your roster always worth it? I don't think so. Especially in fantasy playoffs. And with basically all these guys returning and Tillman getting some minutes, we actually only got 6 minutes of Baylor Scheiman, who I'm sure will have at least one good game down the stretch. I just don't know when it's going to happen. I wish I did. And then I'd tell you, because that would be the only thing I would use my future tallying skills to know, is to when Baylor Scheiman gets big minutes. Let's get onto the Memphis side of things. Second game under the new coach. And last game we got big minutes from Zach Edey, limited minutes from Santi Aldama. In this one, of course, we got 35 Santi Aldama minutes, who had 21, 8, and 4, steal and 3 threes, and I knew it. Last game I said, all right, I never know what to do with this guy, and I've said it a lot. Every time I suggest something, he does the opposite, and now he's playing poorly. The minutes are low. The new coach, I guess we drop him. So, of course, he goes out and does this. And now I just don't know. What I will say, though, is their next game is against Golden State. And if you could custom build a team to make Zach Edey look worse than he is, it's Golden State. Meaning I think we get big minutes from Aldama in the next game. Edey played 13 minutes. He had 4 fouls, so foul trouble was a problem. He had 4 and 2. And obviously, we just cannot rely upon him. You can't rely upon him. Will he play 25 a night? Maybe. Will he play 15? Maybe. Will he be bad? Probably. Will he be good? Sometimes. It's not reliable. And unreliable players are just hard to peg onto your roster and go, yeah, we're rolling this way. Aldama's a little bit like that, but I'd rather him, especially with a game tomorrow against the Warriors. Morant played 35 minutes. He had 26, 6, and 5 with 2 steals. No word whether he's going to play tomorrow. I would expect he doesn't. And the same goes with Vince Williams. 20 and 15 for Jaren. Imagine getting 15 rebounds from Jaren Jackson. Wow. And Desi Bain only the 12 points. It's been a pretty disappointing season from Bain this season, I would say. And Scott Pippen only 17 minutes. Now, the only reason to hold Scott Pippen here is tomorrow. Because if Morant is out, as I think he is, Pippen should go back up. But that's 2 games with Morant back, and Pippen's been under 20 minutes. So you hold him for tomorrow, because like I said with Anthony Black, very little point most of the time to dropping in the middle of the back-to-back. But we can very obviously see that the value is just not there. What about Luke Kennard, who has taken 1 shot combined in his last 2 games? He had 1 point here. He did have 3 steals. Tomorrow, there should be more opportunity if, as I expect, there is no Morant. But overall, we're clearly not holding him any sort of long-term scenario. All right, let's go to the next game. The Chicago Bulls, the team, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, flying into Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder, who are now on track. Like, maybe they won't get there, but they're on track to win 60 games. What actually are the Thunder? What is the Thunder's record? Well, not 60, sorry, 70 games. My bad. They are at 63 and 12. Is that right? I think that's right. It might even be up on the screen. Am I just magic? Yeah, 63 and 12 they are. Whew. All right, so they're on track trying to get to 70. The Bulls coming in to try and get to them didn't really work out as they would have hoped, I'm guessing. 145, 117, the Thunder win it. Josh Giddey, revenge against the team that drafted him high, didn't play him, sat him in the playoffs, didn't give him his opportunity, and he had played 28 minutes and had 15, 8, and 10. And while, again, you know what I've said about Giddey, these games are very good fantasy games. Like 15, 8, and 10 is fine. The game he had the other day was okay. It's just not that level of top 10 player that we were seeing before. And that is all my point has been on him. And we've seen the regression happening here, which is, again, very, very reasonable. Very good production. Very reasonable to expect. Matas Buzelis. All right, 2 in a row. Let's go. 14 and 7, 2 threes, 1 steal, 4 blocks. We know he's been a good shot blocker all season. The minutes have been frustrating. That is a very good add. I want to bring up a point. Like, I'm not to criticize this guy because he left a comment on my waiver wire video the other day saying, Josh, you need to give us more in-depth details. You need to tell us about, this guy's a pickup and he's rostered here because he's going up against the number one defense in the Thunder. It was about Buzelis, the comment he made, but he was the general overarching point. And last time he played the Thunder, this is what happened. The reason I don't do that stuff is because it doesn't matter. The reason I don't dive into the details that way, I dive into different details, is because that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what somebody did against the Thunder in their last 3 games, looking back, because there's different teammates, there's different opponents, there's different situations, there's different things to play for, there's different rest advantages. And when we're talking about streaming a longer-term scenario like we are with Buzelis, that sort of thing, well, this is a good defense. That's true, but we're trying to get, Buzelis has got a back-to-back here, so that's good value. It's 2 extra games. The trend is there. I find that stuff more important versus when this is what often where people say, well, you can find the individual matchups. Most of the time you can't. It's so randomized and it's there's so much variance involved that if trying to put yourself giving that extra data, which the data exists, but I don't believe it gives you any advantage. In fact, I think it ends up confusing you and leading to results and conclusions that aren't correct. So, Buzelis against the best defense we've seen in years had 14 and 7 with 4 blocks and 2 threes. A really good game. He is trending up, and he is an ad at this point. Pat Williams also got 29 minutes. He had 16 points. He had a dunk as well, amazingly, with 4 threes. I don't want to add him, but that's clearly a good game. I just monitor that. With Fanapants, Kevin Huerter out, what we got was Dalen Terry starting. He had 4 points. He had 3 steals. I just don't think he's really an NBA player. And you could tell just this game was a weird one. It was over very early. We only got 21 minutes from the GOAT, Nick Vucevic, 11 and 8. And we got 23 minutes from Kobe White, who had 7, 0, and 1. And White, in particular, had been playing awesome lately, and you're just bound to get these sort of games. They got cooked here. Absolutely no question about that. What else happened? We got some double big stuff with Jalen Smith and Zach Collins, but I'm not going to buy into it. In fact, they just got beaten. They were beaten down early. We got the plug pulled early on by William Donovan, and the Thunder just kept on rolling. Very, very simple as that. Again, what to reiterate, I'm not calling that comment out about that guy talking about, you do talk about this and talk about matchups, because I have a very certain way that I do these things. And I think that sort of information can lead to a lot more confusion and a lot more incorrect conclusions being drawn about the value of a player versus other things the way that I track it. And so that's why I do it the way I do it. That's it. It's a very simple answer. That's why I do what I do. Let's talk about the Thunder side of it. Easy win for them. They were without Aaron Wiggins once more. They went back to Chet and Hartenstein starting, but the big guy, the big performer was Isaiah Joe. Of course it was. 31 with 8 threes. Why wouldn't you get that? I mean, you wouldn't, because he just doesn't do this every game. He's always an option, but when they're healthy, he might not play 20 minutes. Much like the Celtics, I expect somebody to sit out every one of their games moving forward. Whether it's Wiggins, or whether it's Wallace, or Joe, or Dort, or Williams, or Hartenstein, or Caruso, or Chet, or Shea. There's a lot of names. And we'll get some guys sort of in and out. Another really disappointing game from Holmgren, though. 26 minutes, 5.6 rebounds. I would say that the way that he has played, the fact that he's had these 2 injuries in 3 years, he is going to fall in drafts for next season. I don't know where, but it's one of those ones that you have to watch. Because if he had just kept playing out the season, like people were talking about him as a first-round player. People were talking about him like, man, I should have picked him over Wembanyama. Like, I literally heard that. Not from many people, but I heard it, which is obviously was crazy. Now I don't know where he's going to go. It's going to be... I was worried about Chet because I was like, hey, Hartenstein is going to have an impact here. I didn't expect him to get injured, but it's been not very good. Hartenstein is solid 14 and 7. Williams had 23 and 4. That's Bronco Jalen Williams. And it was also a really good Case and Wallace game. The Hong Kong Mattress had 10 points, but he had 8 assists, 3 steals, and a block. This guy is a really good player. At the moment, given the moving guys in and out daily, you could consider him. It's hard to do it. I wouldn't feel super confident in it, but I do like what he's providing. Not much else going on there. Limited minutes for Pig Williams. He had 0 points. He's a guy, if somebody's out, especially if the 2 bigs are out, which will happen in one game, they're going to sit everybody in one of these games coming up. I just don't know when. And then you go to Pig Williams and you can use him in that particular spot. We should go on to the next game. The 7th game of the day, which is, if I can just bring it up on my screen, it is the Brooklyn Nets up against the Dallas Mavericks, and the Nets win. 113-109. Is that sounds of celebration in Philadelphia? Yeah. Is it sounds of celebration in Toronto? Or is it sounds of, now what do we do? The Sixers have that gap, and they're going to lock in now. They're 1.5 games ahead. They're 23 wins for Sixers, 25 for the Nets. The Raptors are 28. Now, that is still very difficult for Brooklyn to win enough games to pass Toronto. But it gives Toronto that extra motivation. We don't want San Antonio leapfrogging us, and we want to still give ourselves a chance if the Nets keep winning games to jump into that slot. So I believe now this win by Brooklyn against the Dallas team that should have been winning is going to enable Toronto to keep the alternate rests going. It's not that Brooklyn had everybody rolling out there either, because they had no guys. Daron Sharp wasn't there. Noah Clowney's in a boot. Cam Johnson was out. But they still got it. And they did it by bringing D'Angelo Russell back for some reason. I'm not really sure what that reason is, but they did bring him back. And he played a lot of minutes and was serviceably good. 18, 5, and 11 with 2 steals. That's being harsh on him. 2 steals and a block. That's a really good game from D'Lo. The problem is, he just doesn't do it enough, and he doesn't play enough. Would you rush to add him? No, because again, they've got a terrible schedule. They play 2 more games this week, and they're off for 2 days. So let's do a blanket here. Don't add anybody from Brooklyn. Keon, 24 points. Great. Fantastic, my guy. Don't care. Don't add him. Tyrese Martin, a nice little deeper league guy. Let's reassess this when we get to Thursday. Sure. Drew Timme, only 21 minutes, 9 points. Reminder, he is not an NBA caliber player. He had a couple of good early games, and you do not jump on him at all. It is a terrible schedule spot with absolutely no interest in adding Drew Timme. Claxton did nothing. Zaire Williams had 11 points, and then Trenton Watford, who should have been able to do more with old mate Noah Clowney out, had 6 points. I think the takeaway from this game and the Nets season in general is it gives not quite the same, but very Thunder and Mark Dagnott vibes. Is that this team should be losing. Now, the difference is, right, the Thunder were very aggressive. Al Horford, don't play the final 40 games. You're done. Shea, just going to sit every random game here for 2 years, just not going to play the final 2 months of the season. We're going to randomize guys through, and we're going to tank our asses off. We're going to run Jalen Horde for 48 minutes, and Georgios Kalaitzakis is going to play 47 minutes a game. All right? The Nets aren't doing that. But what they are doing is they've got a coach that is too good. Will Hardy's in this mix as well. Jordi Fernandez is too good of a coach to lose games. Throw Steven Silas in there, this team wins 4 games. But Jordi Fernandez is too good. The players are capable, but look what he's doing with Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson, Drew Timme. Bro, Jordi Fernandez is great. And if they nail some of their picks, and who knows, if they get lottery luck, end up with pick 1 here, they're going to turn into a juggernaut. They are. They got all those Knicks picks as well, which who knows what they can do with that. They're going to turn into a very strong team because this coach is unbelievably good. And that's probably my major takeaway from looking at the Nets in this game. We should go to the other side because Dallas miraculously was able to bring back Daniel Gafford. I think it's less than 2 months since he suffered a grade 3 complete tear of an MCL. I do not know how it happens. Although, most of the research I did on grade 3 MCLs was suggesting 8 to 12 weeks, which seems, again, short for a full ligament tear. But there was some saying 6. That doesn't sound right, but he's back in 7. How? What? And he just moved straight into the starting lineup and had 17 and 7. Okay. They got a back-to-back coming up, which he probably won't play. But yeah, if you wanted to... And the other thing is Derek Lively is going to be back in the next game too. So it makes it a little all complicated. But obviously, that's a great game. I don't think they're going to extend his minutes very much. But what I do know, and we're about to go full jack-off mode here. Kai Jones.
Get that garbage out of here.
He played 16 minutes for 7 points. And it's not going to get easier. How about Max Christie?
Get that garbage out of here.
20 minutes for 12 points. How about Najee Marshall? Or maybe we hold there. Or maybe we don't, because he played 27 minutes. And again, we have seen, with PJ Washington there, when he comes off the bench, he plays 27 minutes. And when PJ Washington is out, he plays 38 minutes and is great. But who is falling all over themselves to go, yeah, man, I love it. 8 of 8, league winning, Najee Marshall. It's not good enough. Do you hold him? Very debatable to me. Very debatable. If I could double the games from that slot, he's a drop. Spencer Dinwiddie, 12 and 7 with 5. That's not bad. Klay Thompson, 13 and 3 with 4 assists. Not bad, but also droppable. PJ, you want him to do a little bit more, 13 and 5. Well, Anthony Davis. I don't know what the right word is. I thought he wouldn't come back. I thought it would be okay to drop him. And honestly, it has been. Because one of the things I mentioned when talking about it, and not all the time, but one of the things I did mention when talking about it is say there's a chance he comes back and plays a few games, a little bit like Paul George after his broken leg injury or Desmond Bain last season. He comes back, he very much does nothing and sort of peters out. And that's exactly what is happening. Now, I didn't expect him to come back, but he did, and what are we getting, 12, 7, and 5? Low usage? I would suggest that he is in no way healthy. Like, not at all. Because this is not Anthony Davis. And he's going to sit a game later in the week. I'm not saying that you drop him, because if you picked him up, you can't really drop him now. But the decision to add him, which again is a no-brainer, is probably going to end up being a negative one for your team, which is a wild thing to say. Let's do the last game of the day. The Rockets and the Lakers on a back-to-back. The Rockets lose 104-98 with the Lakers getting the victory here. Amen Thompson did sprain his ankle yesterday, but he was okay, ready to go and played through it. So obviously a W there. Amen played 34 minutes. He had 20 and 5. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 4 assists. So just awesome to have him out there and playing. We also got a pretty good game from Jabari Smith. 15 and 11 for Smith on only 10 shots. Again, I don't want to trust that. He played 27 minutes. It's good, but it's just not enough. And when the minutes are final, or when the games are grouped together, when it's a Schedule Plus spot, Smith is useful, but we're not rostering him otherwise. Dylan Brooks ejected yesterday, but was fine here, 16 and 5, while Fred VanVleet, who was good yesterday, had 14% shooting for 7 points and 9 assists. So what we do with him next season will be very interesting. And where he even plays will be very interesting. I think we are maybe in a spot with Fred where he's not even going to end up a top 100 guy. Because part of the reason why we did draft him, and obviously mistakenly drafted him high this season, was good minutes. And he got him 36 minutes a night. But if he goes somewhere else, is he playing 36 or 33? And then the shooting becomes even more of a problem. Jalen Green, real dud for him, 9 points on 31%, while Şengün was whatever, he was fine, 14, 7, and 6. Nothing super exciting and no real big takeaways in that game on the Rockets side. We'll go on to the Lakers side of things now, and the Rockets might want to feel a little bit aggrieved about getting cooked by a couple of bench guys in terms of their threes. We'll talk about this. Dorian Finney-Smith played 32 minutes. He had 20 and 6. 6 threes, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. That is a game for the ages. You will not get that from Finney-Smith very often. I continue to believe that they should just start him over Rui Hachimura, who continues to be bad and not a rosterable player. Hachimura had 7 points with 2 steals in 31 minutes. There's just absolutely no reason to be rostering him.
Get that garbage out of here.
Finney-Smith, you don't roster either. Bloody hell. Like, this game is very clearly awesome. And then they also got 20 points and 6 threes out of Gabe Vincent. Vincent's getting a lot of open shots. He had a steal and a block here. We're not seeing anything like this anywhere close to regularly from Vincent, so we don't need to roster him or anything, but obviously it's a good game. Reeves did very little here, 12, 8, and 3, while Doncic had 20 and 9 assists, and LeBron had 16, 8, and 4, and a Richie Beno. Bad shooting from LeBron, but overall good numbers. And again, the very clear examples, we don't roster Jackson Hayes unless Rui Hachimura is out.
Get that garbage out of here.
We only had 14 minutes from Hayes with 3 points. It was a nice run from Jackson, but that run is over. Let's look at the lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night. We are going amazingly at this point in this year in 2025 to Jordan Poole. He had 35 points. He had 7 threes. He had 2 steals. He played good minutes. Don't count on it, but it all worked out in his favor today. The waiver wire line of the night. I just talked about it. Dorian Finney-Smith. What is this? 20 and 6 with 2 steals and 3 blocks. Hit 6 dribbles. An amazing game. Again, you cannot rely upon it. He is a deeper league option only. Your young gun of the night, the best first or second year performer of the day, Bryce Sensabaugh. I would add him if I knew that he would start and play 28 minutes, but I don't know that. I would consider it, but there's just so much uncertainty with Kessler and Markkanen and Sexton out. Well, the dud of the night, it has to be Scott Pippen. 5 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, hold for tomorrow, and then a very clear drop when Morant is in. I don't really think there's much debate about that. There's also no debate that the show is over. So, happy birthday once again to Cognac. Good luck for the rest of the week. Hit the thumb on the video. Keep tuned here. We're going to be going through all of the stuff across the NBA, all through the end of the NBA regular season, and then there'll be more stuff coming basically straight after that. So hit the thumbs, hit the subscribes, hit your comments. Keep things going positively for you in your leagues, in your teams, in your life. Remember, you did something good. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.